What if the most dangerous person you can meet was also the most trusted? A man who hosted neighborhood parties, a man who dressed as a clown to make children laugh, a man who shook hands with politicians. And beneath all of that, one of the most disturbing serial killers in American history. This story is about John Wayne Gacy, a story about masks, control, and the illusion of normalcy.
The monster image that's been portrayed of me. And the only way you can make a monster image is to make it look like I stalked the streets and picked up altar boys off the street.
John Wayne Gacy wasn't born a monster, at least not in the way we imagine. Born in 1942 in Chicago, Gacy grew up in a household marked by abuse. His father was an alcoholic who frequently battled with him, calling him weak. That kind of environment doesn't excuse what Gacy became, but it helps us understand the foundation. As an adult, Gacy built what looked like an American dream. He owned successful contracting businesses, he was an active community member, he even performed as Pogo the Clown at parties and hospitals. But behind that carefully constructed life, something far darker was growing.
So he looks where the cooler was, he didn't see the cooler, and he starts looking for the cooler. Well, he walks past me and around both beds, and I hit the door. And I'm unlocking the chain, I'm unlocking the deadbolt, and I open the door, and just as I step out, he grabs me.
Gacy lived a double life. Publicly, he was charming, friendly, and reliable. Privately, he was manipulative, controlling, and dangerous. In the 1970s, Gacy began targeting young men and teenage boys. Many of them were employees or simply vulnerable individuals looking for work. He would lure them in with a promise, a job, money, and opportunity. And then everything changed. Gacy used what he called a handcuff trick, convincing victims to put on the restraints under the gaze of a joke. Once they were trapped, Gacy had complete control, and control is what he craved most. Between 1972 and 1978, John Wayne Gacy murdered at least 33 young men. 33. Most of the bodies were hidden beneath his house or buried in the crawl space under his house. Think about that. A man living a normal life, sleeping above the remains of his victims. Neighbors noticed strange smells, but no one could imagine the truth. Because monsters in real life don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they could simply look like your neighbor.
75. Antonucci was just 16, working part-time for Gacy's construction company when the creep challenged him to a wrestling match.
And all of a sudden, he had handcuffs. I didn't see him. He took them out of his pocket, unbeknownst, and got it on one of my wrists.
It was a trick Gacy used on many of his victims, but Antonucci, a high school wrestler, managed to wriggle out of the cuffs and turn the tables, slapping them on Gacy. Jeez.
Gacy's world would begin to unravel in December 1978. A 15-year-old boy named Robert Peast went missing after telling his mother he was going to meet a contractor about a job. That contractor was John Wayne Gacy. Police began investigating, and quickly, Gacy became one of their prime suspects. But at first, he played it cool. He invited officers into his home, he joked with them, he acted like he had nothing to hide. But investigators noticed something strange, a smell coming from the crawl space.
Robert Peast was killed by another individual in my home.
How did he get to your home?
He was transported to the house by another.
How did the other, whoever he was, kill Robert Peace?
I believe he was strangled.
You were there, right?
Not during the crime, but I was there afterwards, and I watched the removal of the body.
And what happened to the body afterwards? Was one that was that
It
that body
taken to
was
the
put
river.
into the
It was
river?
taken to the river and dumped in the river.
Did you help do that?
Yes, I'm in complicity with that. I've always contended. Don't look at me as an innocent babe of the woods.
What they found beneath that house shocked the entire nation, most of all his community. Body after body.
Between Tiana, Khadijah, Lenny, Carvel, him, her, him, bodies!
Victim after victim. The truth could no longer be hidden. The mask was gone. John Wayne Gacy wasn't a businessman. He wasn't a clown. He was a serial killer and one of the most prolific ones in U.S. history.
It was only twice a month that I did it.
Yeah, this was not using for a lure to draw kids to you as
No, we would visit different hospitals and entertain the children there. And we didn't entertain them with handcuffs or anything like that. All we used was balloon animals and small toys and stuff like that. But we also did parades. And in the summertime, like on 4th of July, I used to be in 4 parades in one day. I've always told people when I got into clown makeup, I regressed into childhood. It was fun being a clown because you could be yourself or just let yourself go and act a fool.
In 1980, Gacy was convicted of 33 murders. During his trial, his defense claimed insanity, arguing that he had multiple personalities. But the jury didn't buy it. They saw what he had done. They understood the pattern. This wasn't a madness. This was calculated, controlled, and deliberate. Gacy was sentenced to death and executed in 1994.
Has received the maximum penalty, lethal injection. Taken to the execution chamber, he's secured to a gurney with intravenous lines inserted into his arms. The first drug administered is pentobarbital, a barbiturate sedative. As it enters the bloodstream, it acts on neurotransmitters in the brain.
The story of John Wayne Gacy isn't just about crime, it's about deception. About how someone can wear a mask so convincing that no one questions what's underneath. It focuses us to ask uncomfortable questions. How well do we really know the people around us? And how easily can evil hide behind something ordinary? Because sometimes the scariest monsters aren't the ones that we fear. They're the ones that we trust.
Don't let them take control.